So the PFL is ruining Bellator fighters' careers. The co-owner, Donn Davis, is completely clueless about MMA, and he's consistently failed to deliver on promises. He's also said some delusional things over the past year since the PFL acquired Bellator, and now there's rumors circulating that the PFL is going to be shutting Bellator down completely. They don't have the funds to pay these fighters, it seems, and many current Bellator champions and top contenders are starting to speak out against the PFL because their careers are getting stalled. They're getting one fight a year if they're lucky. We've seen fighters over the past 12 months complain about the PFL not honoring the contract. Someone like Gegard Mousasi did an in-depth interview with Ariel Helwani talking about these things. And we'll look at that interview and hear what he had to say about 6 months ago. And it's very relevant to what we're seeing amongst the elite guys in Bellator right now who are not getting matchups. They're all training. They're all asking for fights. They're all ready to go. And the PFL simply isn't giving them any fights. Mousasi is also suing the PFL. And at this rate, I don't think I'll be surprised if some of these other Bellator guys join the lawsuit and team up with Mousasi in a fight against the PFL. Now, I do want to look at some clips about Bellator potentially being shut down. We'll even listen to some semi-recent Donn Davis interviews, and we'll hear some of the promises that he's failed to keep. But first, I do want to look at some of the tweets by not just no-name Bellator guys, but the best that Bellator has. Patchy Mix, Bellator Bantamweight. I've been training my ass off for the last half of a year for nothing. This is frustrating in the prime of my career, and I've had my fight in November canceled. They just recently canceled, I believe, the November 16th event. Randomly, Bellator is not doing the event. The PFL shuts it down. Then now again, I'm being told I'm off the January Dubai card. I'm the best in the world and I want to prove it. PFL doesn't have a bantamweight division. Bellator has one of the bantamweight's best divisions outside of the UFC, and they can't get him a matchup, or maybe they're refusing to pay that championship money to him. Even Chris Cyborg, who recently won and captured the title for the PFL against Larissa Pacheco in a big matchup, said she wants to be on a big card. Corey Anderson, light heavyweight champion, saying he's aging like warm cheese over here and wants PFL to give him a call, but nobody's reaching out. Patricio Pitbull, the damn Bellator GOAT, he's like, I haven't fought since February and I wanted to fight 3 times a year. That's very unlikely with the PFL only running 8 Bellator shows at best. They've done 5 this year and they're only doing 5. So how are you going to get 3 fights? You're going to be on 3 of the 5 cards? He's talking about his cancellation of the December 31st fight. And his opponent now is fighting against somebody else. Even Leonardo Higo's talking about it, who's, a relatively high-tier bantamweight contender. Rafion Stotts, what's going on? Even though I want my rematch, Patchy deserves to be active. If you need an opponent, ring my line. Look at that. Guys are willing to fight. It's not a lack of willingness. It's a lack of funds, I believe. And then Corey Anderson shouting out Scott Coker. The times were good back then. I want to listen to some of these interviews, okay? The first one is with none other than the Weighing In podcast, right? It is Josh Thompson and Big John McCarthy, who I would kind of consider to be like Bellator shills at this point, and they're on Team PFL technically, right? They were at least brought in. I know Big John McCarthy was to work under the banner. And even they're very doubtful of the fights taking place beyond like the 1 or 2 cards that they have left. So let's listen to this clip right here.
I mean, they don't have a weight class for you. And everything I've heard from Bellator is that Bellator's pretty much going away after their February show.
The February show is going to be it. So we have fighters sitting out, waiting to fight, who now are just going to be let go. Like, what are they going to do with the contracts? Because PFL has done nothing to bring in middleweights or bantamweights. I don't understand how PFL's CEO or chairman, Donn Davis, who does, a lot of media interviews, can sit with a straight face and say he considers himself co-lead to the UFC when you don't have 2 of the most marquee weight classes in combat sports. It's completely delusional, and he is. And you can look towards the end, right? You even have 2 guys that I would consider to be somewhat of the company shills completely doubting the product continuing.
Together, but who knows? We'll see. Who knows?
That's a rough one.
It is a rough one, John. It really is.
Both of them are thinking the same thing. It's over with. Bellator is done for. PFL shutting it down. They're probably both definitely out of jobs. Two Bellator, former commentators, and Big John McCarthy, who was essentially running the damn color commentary for Bellator. Not to say I liked them on the mic, but that's besides the point. It's a different content video, right? These guys are as pro-corporate as you can get, and they're like, this doesn't look good. We're going to be out of a job soon. We ain't going to be working with PFL anymore. And I knew things could potentially get bad early on, but I always wanted to give Donn Davis hope. And about 6 months ago, he did an interview with the weighing in crew, who we just saw look extremely depressed, alluding to the fact that they're fighting hard for Bellator. And we're going to listen to the first clip right here.
Hey, Don, get rid of Bellator.
He just said it. Hey, Don, get rid of Bellator. He's talking to himself. That's not the full clip. Let's keep listening.
Close it down. We had half the people tell us that. And we said no.
They said no, but what happened now? We're getting 5 events in a calendar year. Fighters fighting once a year at best. You better be lucky to get on the 5 events. You're signing that contract. Your career is on standby. You're getting completely stalled out. I don't understand this at all. But 6 months ago, he was reassuring everybody it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Trust Donn Davis, right? He understands combat sport. He understands promoting fights. I don't think so. Let's listen to some more.
We want to make it a champion series. So we want to curate it. Get rid of 20 events a year. That's just another UFC thing. Back to my...
Let's get rid of 20 events a year. So let's do 5. Fighters need to be able to fight. If you are on contract right now as a Bellator fighter in PFL, you're screwed unless you're choosing to fight in the PFL playoff season tournament thing where they fight all the damn time, and it's just suboptimal for a vast majority of fighters.
My earlier comment, it's same old, but not as good. We're going to make it...
It's definitely not as good.
Better. 8 events a year, 2 title fights every event in the biggest cities of the world.
Oh, really? 8 events a year? We're going to hit 5. Okay? They promised 8 events a year, only pulled off 5. 2 title fights per card didn't happen. On 4 out of 5. Canceled multiple events with 0 explanation. Straight facts. What happened? What happened to the dream? What happened to the plan? This is completely off plan. And I think that the fighters deserve to hear exactly what's happening because their careers are the one that's struggling. These fighters are screwed. I don't think PFL is making much money. Supposedly for their Francis Ngannou super fight, they sold 10K pay-per-views. That's horrible. But you're still a pro fighter there that want to, showcase your skills. And the fact that you don't even get a chance. They're not even giving you more than a fight a year. The UFC guarantees 3 fights a year. That's insane. And they try to talk as if they're co-lead. And then he flexes the roster. This is something Donn Davis does all the time. He flexes the roster really hard. Really, really hard.
Patchy Mix, AJ McKee. These guys in their career are top 5 in the world in their weight classes.
Yeah, arguably they could.
Yeah, they're top guys in the weight class. But Patchy Mix can't get a fight. He fought once this year. Patchy Mix, you don't have a weight class at PFL for him. But you also are saying that it's hard to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not going to be easy. He said things like, we're really working on it. We're really working on it, guys. We're trying so hard to get fighters. There's plenty of bantamweights that want to fight one another. So why can't they get a Bellator fight card together? Is it because they don't want to pay out the guys? Because they can't pay them out? Like what happened with Gegard Mousasi, which is going to come up next. But I want to just kind of show the hypocrisy of Donn Davis a bit more because he speaks on fighters first. These are fighters last. This is business first, the way he's running things.
Case for them. And we're a fighter-first, fan-centric company. That's why we have the Bellator Champion Series product. So
no, you're not a fighter-first, fan-centric company. You don't do Bellator Championship Series products, so you're not that. You're doing the PFL tournament, and you took these Bellator guys in not having a plan, didn't know what to do. And I think that the answer to what should have been done is actually quite easy. You turn Bellator and PFL into one promotion, and you don't run constant seasons that are just not going to resonate with all the fans. It's true. I would rather see a champ defend the belt several times and make an argument for being best in the world, right? That's the way to at least compete somewhat against the UFC, is have a high caliber dominant champion in compelling fights. Instead, let's just do a season all year. Doesn't matter. Championship resets every time. I don't think people care. I don't think people care at all. Towards the end here, there was one more clip that I wanted to pull up. Let's see if I got the right time. Yeah, it's right around here.
Yeah, but if you think about it, as soon as we bought Bellator, everybody's a PFL fighter.
We've been talking about
everybody is.
We say that all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody, whether they're PFL Europe, PFL Mideast, Bellator, everybody's a PFL Inc. fighter, just like we're.
So everybody's a PFL Inc. fighter. So not only they're failing their fighters, not just Bellator fighters, they're failing their fighters completely. Wild to me how this guy's the face of a fight organization when he doesn't have a clue about fighting. Donn Davis, I wouldn't even consider to be much of a fan of fighting. I don't even think that he likes MMA. He was asked a question here about, oh, what about your favorite fight ever? And I'm sure you guys have seen this clip. And if you haven't, well, here's going to be the first time that you really get an understanding of Donn Davis, who is running a fight promotion without even liking the sport. Here we go. Let's listen in here. Don's favorite fight of all time was the question. You can see it in the bottom.
Doctors don't watch medical shows. People are lawyers, don't watch legal shows on TV.
Doctors don't watch medical shows. Lawyers don't watch whatever on TV that he said. But a fight promoter should watch combat sport. And they should breathe combat sport because it's not just about the money. And if it is, then hire people that really care because you haven't.
I'm aware of everything that's going on because it's important for business. But I don't want to watch other people's MMA shows for enjoyment.
I don't think you watch MMA for enjoyment at all. I don't think you like MMA. He said here, he did kind of answer the question at the end about his favorite fight ever. And listen to this.
It's boxing for me. I grew up, I'm a little bit older, so I grew up boxing. And, and so to me, I was very much.
I don't care who his favorite fighters are. He's a boxing fan. So he's a casual boxing fan, doesn't like MMA, trying to make money without being able to resonate with fans, doesn't know what he's doing, screwing fighters over, keeping people on the sidelines. There needs to be answers ASAP, or there needs to be some relishing of contracts. Let these guys out. Let guys do their thing and fight. The issue is they kind of did that with Gegard Mousasi. They screwed him sideways. The thing is, this video from Helwani, it got about 35,000 views. It was kind of trending, but it got quickly pushed under the rug. And I feel like we got to give Mousasi a bit more light. He talked about this 6 months ago. Now everybody else is catching on. But 6 months ago, he's like, I'm not getting fights. I'm not getting offers. They don't want to honor my contract. They said they're not going to honor my contract. Contract not being honored is a lawsuit, and that's why this exists. Mousasi is suing for what? $15 million for damages. I think right now, if you're a fighter in Bellator and you're signed, under obviously the PFL banner and you're not getting fights, you join in with Gegard Mousasi in the fight against them. Now, some will say, oh, but they can't because they're going to be locked in the contracts and can't get fight. It sucks. It sucks. It's a very shitty situation because the contracts being locked in for these guys and now not getting fights, it could be a couple of years for them to break out. You're screwed. Your career is screwed getting stuck on the Bellator PFL right now, PFLator.
They feel like I make too much money.
Right.
You see that? I had it on 2x speed, but he said, they feel like I make too much money. Gegard Mousasi is obviously a longtime MMA veteran. He's done his thing for years, and they don't have the funds to pay him. They didn't want to pay him. But they also didn't want to pay some of these other fighters we can see now. It's not just Mousasi. It's a lot of guys there. I don't think that the intention of buying Bellator was to screw these fighters over. So I want to say first, I don't think that was the intention at all. I think that they just had no plan. And the plan that they had was a shit plan. They need to overhaul the organization, but they're not going to do that because Donn Davis is obsessed with running seasons because he wants to turn sports fans into fight fans. He wants to make you turn on the TV for a first time, watch a fight and say, wow, what is that? I've never seen that before. There is no fan of PFL in the world that hasn't watched the UFC fight. There are plenty of combat sports fans, UFC fans alike, who do not watch Bellator, do not watch PFL. So I think he's delusional. And it shows. His delusional advisory crew as well.
I said the amount that we want to cut you is so much that it's better for you, I don't know, look somewhere else or...
So he said that the amount of a pay cut that they wanted to cut him was so much so that they even said, listen, you're better off looking somewhere else. It's probably not going to happen here. Gegard Mousasi has fought in a lot of fight organizations, and he has claimed that the worst organization that he's fought for is, Bellator PFL. PFL's Bellator. I don't want to just flack Bellator as its own company. I'm talking about the PFL that now runs Bellator. So really, it's PFLator.
Not even funny anymore. It's the worst organization so far. I've fought a lot of organizations. This is the worst one.
So worst organization, fighters complaining, a lot of top guys complaining now. It's all starting to make a lot of sense. And Gegard Mousasi, he said here that the lawsuit is probably going to be enacted on this damn video stream, him and Helwani going after it. At 356, he talked about that he couldn't get in contact. You are a top 10 fighter in Bellator who now is, acquired by PFL, and you can't get in contact with anybody at the front office.
But it's difficult to talk to any of those PFL guys.
Like Donn,
so we
these
talked
guys?
to Mike, and yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't, they said they don't want to talk to you.
They don't want to talk to you. That's not how a fight promotion is run. You should have a chance to talk. You can't talk to these higher up officials there. You can't get in contact. They're not going to answer your emails. They're not going to give you fights. You have to go towards talking on Twitter. Look at the fighters today. High level, top talent over in the damn Bellator PFL thing, the merger. I guess let's call it PFLator. Let's just run it as that. Going to Twitter to complain about their employer. I'm sure that they have tried to reach out, but now they have to go to the public. So maybe people like myself and you guys watching will start standing up against PFL. And that's why I think the boycott PFL thing is not a horrible idea until they get some of these Bellator guys fights, or send them out. Let them go. Let's get Patchy Mix signed to a UFC contract. Let's get Johnny Eblen in the UFC. Donn Davis does not understand how to run a combat sports promotion. He doesn't. It's a fact. It's not a maybe. It's not a what if. It's an absolute. Now, this is an old interview from a year ago. This is when PFL acquired Bellator and the early plans. He said something that now, hindsight 2020, is extremely concerning. Listen to what he said here about his intentions with Bellator and what he's thinking of the plan.
International series. Why are you keeping the Bellator brand alive?
Yeah. First thing I want to say is, look, as an entrepreneur, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't need to hear anything else. Takes on Bellator, loads of top talent, and doesn't know what he's going to do with it. Now, he laid out an original plan, and I think most of us know it, but it's good to hear it again. Let's listen to Donn Davis talk about his original plan early on.
Market space. That from the Professional Fighters League is the Bellator brand. And that is 8 great one-off events every year where we matchmake.
8 great one-off events every year. Donn Davis reminds me of those failed politicians. So 8 great events. Yeah. There was 5 this year. I wouldn't consider them great. Bantamweight is a concern. He was asked here about the bantamweight concerns a year ago. And of course, he tried to play it off as if they kind of had something they're working on, but not really.
So I might be getting in the weeds here, but, like 2 of the best champions on the Bellator roster are champions of weight classes that you don't have in PFL.
It's unfortunate.
Johnny Eblen, Patchy Mix.
It's unfortunate.
What happens there? They're just left out?
Yeah. So there, it wouldn't be legitimate.
Right.
So, of course, they're going to, they could fight on the Champions Series of Bellator. Some of them may even make our pay-per-view cards next year.
Change the subject. Some of them might make our pay-per-view cards. Johnny Eblen got a shot on the pay-per-view. Patchy Mix, different story. Patchy Mix got 1 fight this year. Like, it's just not coming together, and these guys are completely screwed over. Now, what's crazy is Donn Davis really pushed that he wants happy fighters. In multiple interviews we've seen today, he's talked about happy fighters. He wants his employees happy.
None of us are good at our jobs when we're not happy. None of us. So within reason, I want everybody to be happy.
Within reason, he wanted everybody to be happy. Really shit the bed today, huh? The date's November 25th, 2024. This interview was November 20th, 2023. About exactly a year ago is when this came out. And look at what he has done with the Bellator product. It's fallen apart. It was falling apart, right, as Bellator was getting ran into the ground. But you could have put it on life support and made some magic happen. But instead, the events were few and far between. They were not the fights that many people wanted, I feel like. They didn't have the 2 title fights on every card. The marketing sucked. The fan interest sucked. It all sucked. We should have seen this coming from a mile away because this guy doesn't know anything about fighting. Now, his intentions, he claimed, were to make Bellator good, to make Bellator good again.
They revitalized, we really mean revitalized. We didn't say start over, right? We're going to take what's good and we're going to improve where it can be improved.
New logo?
Let's take what's good. Let's improve what needs to be improved. Let's not give these guys any fights. Let's sit them on the sidelines for a year and let their primes fade into oblivion because we have no idea how to run Bellator. We have no idea how to run a fight promotion. That's why we do the damn tournament constantly, the redundant ass tournament that gets boring over and over and over and over. Oh, but it was cool. I like the fights. Oh, listen, champion, contenders. Combat sports has done that since the dawn of time, whether it's kickboxing, boxing, MMA. Stick to what works. Don't try and recreate the wheel, okay? The wheel spins beautifully. You don't need it to be square because that's what they're doing. It's a square wheel and it's just flopping over. You can't get any traction. You can't get moving. They're not getting off the feet at all. PFL today or a year ago? Is it in any different spot? Oh my God, they had the Ngannou card. It didn't sell any pay-per-views. It didn't do a thing. Oh my God, PFL fighters. They're fighting in the championship this week on Friday. Did you know? Do you care? They have no idea what they're doing. With the high-level talent that they have, it could turn into something so much better. But it is about who leads the show. And the leader of the show might as well take those glasses off because he's completely blind. When it comes to combat, he's blind. He's a money-centric guy who talks about the big deals he's made in businesses and whatnot, billion-dollar companies. But fighting is not just any billion-dollar company. It's not just some, random company. It's not like, a product, like a name brand. Oh, my God, he built up Louis Vuitton or whatever. I think the guy who probably built up Louis Vuitton would do better. But still, you get where I'm coming from. It's not a tech company. It's a fight organization. And I think that they have done an awful job. And Donn Davis is a complete disgrace of a chairman and the co-owner. The whole crew is a disgrace, though. The whole slew of them. Is not just Donn Davis. Donn Davis is the one getting flamed because he's the guy who goes out and does the interviews and sits and talks with different people, right? So he's in the public eye more so. But the whole team is a complete fumble. All of the co-owners that are in, the new money that's in there, what are they doing? I don't know. I don't think they know either. I don't think they're intentionally killing Bellator in this manner. I don't think they're intentionally stalling the fighters' careers. I think it is simply incompetence alongside of lack of funding. They claim they have all this Saudi money, but you can't pay Patricio Pitbull to fight. You can't get Patchy Mix a title fight. You can't get Corey Anderson on some card. You can't have events come together. You cancel multiple events over the past 2 months. That's where we're at right now. And what? There's a February or January card coming up with Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes, and that's going to be the send-off. We're hearing that's the last one. What are the fighters going to do next? Is it going to be the PFL Championship Series and they're going to keep it going? They're going to release them a contracts? Are they going to be log jammed in a contract? They're going to try to get them to fight on 2 pay-per-views a year? And listen, if you're lucky enough, you get the lottery ticket, you'll get a fight. If not, sit on the sidelines. Let's run your career down. I don't get it. I think that if there is not action taking place over the course of the next couple months, not the next several. I'm talking about I need either Donn Davis behind closed doors to give a plan out to these guys, or he needs to go public with this and answer the call outs by all of the top tier Bellator fighters about what the hell is going on. Then simply, I think they need to band together and fight against this. Maybe join the lawsuit with Gegard Mousasi. That might be the only option for some of these guys. How the hell are you going to get fights? 8 events a year is already not enough. 8 events a year is lacking. I mean, if you're a top contender, 8 events a year, you better be ready to go all the time. God forbid you get one injury, then you want to wait till the next event. Nope, fully booked. Sorry. PFL is focused on their tournament thing. Bellator is a side thing. Their energy is not being put into it. Their finances are not being put into it. They're focused on getting Jake Paul in the cage. They're focused on a one-off Ngannou pay-per-view. There was cool fights on that pay-per-view. I'm not shitting on it completely, but it didn't sell. It's a shame that we're in this spot in 2024 MMA. These guys are getting screwed sideways. When champions of an organization have to go to Twitter to complain and get fights, I think that is the worst look possible. Go to Twitter to get fights, man, because you're not getting a call from Donn Davis. They're not answering you. They're not replying to your voicemails or emails. You'll see soon. We'll get back to you soon. We'll find out. Not how the game should go. Sad, man. It's sad. It's genuinely sad. I was on the PFL website the other day, and you know what I noticed too? That they still were advertising for the October pay-per-view, the Super Fight Series. That's on their actual website. That's a complete joke in itself. Get things together, PFL. Let these guys go or get it together fast, because I think that lawsuit from Mousasi could potentially be more impactful if you have several other high-caliber fighters get in on it. And I think simply these guys just want fights. I don't know the plan long-term, but I pray for the PFL and Bellator talent that they'll get some matchups, because these Bellator guys' careers are getting ruined. On the sidelines, Patricio Pitbull might have a good year left. He probably has 2 or 3 fights left. He could potentially fight Lucky once this year at this rate. So we shall see. They're saying that this is the end of Bellator. If it is, rest in peace. Because in the early days of Bellator, I was the Bellator Mac. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel long enough, I was covering Bellator back when it was prime Bellator, not PFLator. And damn, it's sad to see how far it's fallen from grace. We got a little hope that it'd be revived from PFL, but no hope that it was revived from PFL. It's actually worse than it was when it was running events on Showtime with no advertising. It's completely fallen apart. A sad day in MMA when, top tier world champs are complaining on Twitter to get fights because you, as a promoter and a promotion, can't get them matchups. Is what it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I told you guys I'd make one. I had to bring, a heavy rant and stand for the fighters from Bellator over here. Let me know in the comments what you think of the situation and just simply the video too. Smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe it up. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.